Hey everyone, kind of a funny situation here. We're playing another game of the Settlers of Catan. So unfortunately, my microphone seemed to crap out on the original recording of this. So instead of having the video go, and without voice, which I don't want to do, I'm gonna do a little video commentary on how this game went, some of my decision making here, good or bad, just kind of see what happened. So it's a little bit of a different look. I don't like when my videos don't have audio. This was kind of a funny situation. My USB, everything was normal, fine. Replugged it back in, it's fine, works now. So is what it is what it is. But it's a complete bummer to like lose a video with no sound. Because again, we're very consistent. We upload every single day, and I really hate when our videos don't quite work. So the previous Colonist video, unfortunately, that one has no sound. I put no sound in the title. Just note, if you're gonna watch that, it's gonna be pretty quiet. Not gonna re-comment on something I already uploaded. So it is what it is. Because I've got limited amount of time. So it is what it is. But while I have your captive audience attention, coming up next week, well, I should say on the 29th is going to be the 1 year anniversary of this channel. So I've got a whole bunch of special videos planned for that week. Should be very exciting. Very, very exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. Some different stuff. We'll see if you guys like it. Some of them are just one-offs, but I'm pretty excited. I've been planning it for a while, so super excited to get you guys the 1 year anniversary of the channel. Every single day we upload. So hey, subscribe if you haven't, like, comment on the video. So, and don't be too harsh about us not having any sound here. So we try to make good. So anyway, let's take a look at this board. So this 695, yeah, kind of a big deal there. Getting that. The red player was in a really strong position with that. My problem with it is just the lack of ports. I kind of think what he did here was fine. I think it's pretty unlikely somebody would have gone on the 910 or the 510 there. So I do think it's fine not pointing to the ore, because let's face it, that ore is going to get taken. Worst case, maybe he gets a 1 pip ore spot with an ore port. It doesn't do him a ton of good. It's probably better to get the 3 additional pips, or down here. So hard to complain. Now for our pick, this is kind of interesting. I think I made a mistake here. I think I made a big mistake here. The reason is, as I am so wont to do, I tend to over prioritize wheat a little bit. And that is what I did here. The other spot, the 963, has better production, right? It also has the rarer resource in the brick, just because there's only 3 places for it. It also gets me the sheep, which on this board isn't exactly, there's not a ton of it. And just looking at other placements too, right? Wood and wheat, there are some other locations we could take, right? We got this 843 up here is like a pretty, actually kind of a groovy spot as well. If we wanted to do that, we'd get really good wheat there. But, I think we made a mistake here. I do. We wind up taking the 843. And also, I think we make a mistake on where we point the road as well. So let's see what we wind up doing. Yeah, I in my heart of hearts, I think I should have taken the 963 and then pointed this way, because at least then I get access to the 3-for-1 port and potentially the wood port. It gives me a little bit more options, and I get an extra pip of production from the sheep, which is always good. So the reason why I think I made a mistake here, this was a lack of foresight. I guess I kind of expect somebody to go here, but I actually think the better play would have been to go to the left Not that I don't want the double ore, it is pretty precious, but it could really help if getting this double wood and maybe even getting this 5-4 spot. Like that extra wheat could actually be very valuable for us. I think ideally I was hoping in my heart of hearts that like this 963 would be magically available to us. Um, Spoiler alert, it's not. So, but let's see what black does here. Black actually kind of picks an interesting setup, which honestly I agree with. I agree with this. Now, I think the only thing I don't like about it is I tend to think you take the 2 ore first. So I probably would have done 963 and then the 11 6 12. I think that's fine. I was kind of thinking when they went here, a more natural spot, I think, would have been the 843. Because I think in that scenario, they're in really good shape. So that's actually the reason why I was expecting this to be open. Because, up here, right? Yes, it's a little bit less production, but if they take this first, 843, point up, they get potentially a wheat port and then the double ore on the back. I mean, they're in a pretty good position for a pretty strong ore wheat sheep game. And quite frankly, could dominate it, right? The flip side here is they have kind of a strange setup, but it's very interesting, right? They get the double sixes, so they're going to be moving around. And with this wheat here, like they should be fine with double wheat. But that's kind of the reason I was thinking maybe they would take this. I think I would have picked this. I do. I think I would have if I was going to go here, I think I would have done 843. However, I mean, I can't really disagree with it, but I was a little taken aback. Now, I think on our side here, this one, I think we kind of put ourselves in a trap. So in the video as well, in the original recording, I kind of state that we're kind of screwed here almost no matter where we go in the middle. And we probably would have been better off taking the 843. Because this is the problem when you're in the middle, right? The red player can kind of go wherever he wants because he's last, right? If he goes here, he could just come up there and get an extra road and he's already ahead of us. But the smarter play is just to take the 6-3-11, wipe out our road, point down. So that's a trap I fell into. Should not have done that. Should not have done that. But again, it's tough. It's tough because again, we're like, we can get some brick. In this situation, maybe the smarter play, if we were going to do this, would have just been to punt the sheep, to tell you the truth. And maybe just come down here. But I do think I also misplayed here, right? I do think this should have gone up 843. I think that would have been a lot better. Because then at least with the 843, we're playing a little bit more of a hybrid or wheat sheep game. The problem is it's not a strong game. And the reason why I went against it was because I really didn't want a mirror setup, 843, 843. Because heaven forbid those 4s and 3s don't roll, we're completely screwed. So that is the reason why I took this. Now, with that said, hindsight is 2020. Maybe I would have taken this 843 come here, because then at least, you got to play for some of this. 411, maybe get a couple extra ore here. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. We were fortunate to get some decent rolls in the beginning. So that was pretty nice. So we were able to move. And again, we probably wouldn't have been able to move if we didn't have this spot, but is what it is. So to tell you the truth, I didn't mind the way this game started. I actually think that was pretty okay. Getting this double ore here is a good start, and it puts us in a good position in the ore game. Very, very good position in the Or game. Again, the problem is really just expansion. Like, where do you go in this setup, right? Because we're very limited, right? We could go down here, we can go down here, maybe down here. The problem is it's just so unlikely we're going to be able to beat red unless we constantly harass this 6. So, a little high risk, little high risk. Little high risk. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. Trading was also kind of tough this game. We were looking at I was looking at maybe doing some 2-for-1s. I didn't just want to give him, because at this point I'm like, well, if we can keep him off of that 11-5-4, maybe we can sneak back in there, right? So I didn't just want to give him a road, or like a what do we call it, a wheat so he settles. But honestly, I almost wonder if that was a mistake. Again, he winds up building a road anyway, but if he settles there, that's tough. So I don't hate what we did, but maybe we could have gotten a card there. Maybe it would have been a little bit better. So on some of these were interesting. What I found interesting was how many of these 2-for-1 trades were going on, right? Like, and people just were not biting. I probably, yeah. So I took that because black had also accepted it, and I figured it's better for me to just give him a sheep, which I think I was pretty good with. He does get to the sheep port there, which is a little risky. And we were close to the card here. The problem is, I didn't feel like holding on to the Or was a very good idea. So maybe I should have saved. I didn't hate this, but of course the problem is we got a VP, which, as you all know, in the video, I was like, would have preferred something else. Would have preferred something else. No, yeah, that sucked. That sucked. That Rob there really sucked. And then the 10 got blocked. Yeah, that was brutal. That was a very, very rough go. I'm like, oof, was not great. And to our credit, we keep trying to get 2-for-1s here. And I'm honestly a little surprised he didn't take it. Because, this is one of those where it's like, why wouldn't you give us something, right? Let's see. Did he do it here? I'm trying to remember. No, he did here. He did here. Okay. Because like this player was very hesitant to do 2-for-1s, even though they had like a million cards. So bummer. Now, to our credit here, we try. And maybe if we could have gotten a city, this early stage would be a little different. We up our ante a tick. But no one is biting. So what are we to do? Yeah, that's a problem. I don't hate the knight there, but again, it's tough. It is tough. Because, man, we would certainly prefer the city. Now, retrospect is 2020. If we had held there, we would have gotten the sheep. The next turn, we would have been at 7 cards, but we would have had the city in hand with that sheep. So can't always know what the dice are going to do, right? It sucks. Not always going to know. Let's see. And those 6s, my God, this game, if I recall, it was like all 6s and 9s, and my goodness, was it pretty bad. There was a lot of 6s, a lot of 9s, and it was pretty brutal. Yeah, this was an interesting decision because I was like, well, let me go take this, mostly because I knew he had wheat, and I'm like, all right, we'll just keep popping. Because honestly, I think that's the right thing to do there, right? Now, admittedly, I hated this 10 block. I really hated this 10 block. Um, I was a little surprised that he kept going on the 10. Really surprised. And quite frankly, I was also a little bit surprised he was taking from me here. Because, just looking at face value, the setups, yes, I have the cards, but, orange has a really good advantage here. Because orange, again, has basically a straight line. And then that happens again. It was like a very frustrating 10 game for us. Like, if you're gonna, again, I just gotta look at it as take from them. Because the odds of us getting a city here quickly are really low. And we're playing a very, very weak, in my opinion, 5 resource game. Because this cuts us off. Like, I look at this board and I see it as we're probably the 3rd most dangerous player. I think black in the beginning here is kind of the weakest, just because, they're kind of isolated. They can't do much. They're not really buying a ton of cards, but they have the potential to get crazy once the 6 goes off or they start getting this stuff. So to me, I kind of thought red and orange here were the 2 main problems. And it was kind of tough trying to determine, who the bigger threat is here. Because again, you see the danger, right? And then you see this guy and you see the danger as well. None of them have ore at the moment, which does slow things down, especially with red not having a port to start. That does help. But I don't do a lot of commentary, so I hope it's good. I don't know. I'm like kind of remembering, we got another 3. I forgot about that. Yeah, those 3s were going off in the early game. We just couldn't quite save up for the damn city here, which is really frustrating. Really, really frustrating. Yeah, then he hits there. That was a bummer. Yeah. Yeah, look at that 6. That 6 going off is just insane. Oh, so good. So good. All right, let's see what happened here. The two goes off. We just buy another card because why not? Right? At this point, we're looking to take an army. The Year of Plenty is very versatile. So my original plan here was to build a city. I can't remember if that's actually what ultimately happens. We're gonna find out. But because really I needed help building the city because our city building stuff just isn't great. But if we could city up that 438, that does change things. So that was kind of my original hope here. But again, it's like, where do we go after that, right? City and cards the priority. Certainly hoping for like more VPs, because at this stage of the game, because we're getting blocked at the 3 and the 10, and by the way, like we've been hit pretty much every time, which really blows. If we're not moving it on the 6 or the 8, someone is hitting us either on the 10 or the 3, which is just such a bummer. I was actually a little bit surprised that black and red were getting a little bit more harassed. Because, man, that just sucked. This actually turns out to be a pretty interesting game. This isn't like a blowout or anything. And it's funny, kind of at the midpoint, earlier midpoint here, looking at it, it's still kind of like, it's kind of in the intuit stasis, part of the game where you're like, all right, who's going to win? It's not really clear because you look at me. It's funny. I kind of think they think that I'm the biggest threat at this point. Oh, this too. Yeah, like blue, you're not getting 2. I'm like, you got 11 cards. Like, why would I give you a 1-for-1 when you've got 11 cards there. Like, I mean, there's a point. Yeah, why would anyone exactly? Why would anyone one for one you if you've got 11 cards? It's like silly. Um, like a two for one, I would take anything, right? Like basically anything. You give me a Wheaton, whatever. Give me what other trash card you want. It doesn't matter. Um, there we go, down to the port. There we go. Yeah, because I mean, there's like a point where it's like, okay. And again, I'm looking at the board and I'm like, we're just not that strong looking, especially since we're just constantly blocked here. Oh, and what's really frustrating too is like that eight really hasn't done much. Eight has not done much. Then black, boom. Now black setup is getting interesting too, because black here is also just a road away from taking the longest road. Um, Probably a little too early for it to matter, but now black has to worry about cities. And cities are really, yeah, here we go, 6 and 9s all game. It's true. Just sixes, there's one. 6s and 9s all game. And you can already tell, I mean, obviously this is a super low board. Like, what are we supposed to do here? What are we supposed to do? Yeah. Now we do have the 3 sheep here, which is useful. And again, we're getting close to maybe... I should take this. Did I take this? I did. Now he's offering a 2 for 1. So I accept it, and he doesn't take it. I was like, what? I was so mad. I was like, you know, I think they're just looking, I think he was just looking at me and he's like, I'm not giving that guy 2 for 1. And I really don't understand why. In that case, like that would have done me a big solid. And all he got was a card for it. Like, I kind of feel like there was a different play there. So I actually think that was a pretty good block. Yeah, that block didn't bother me. I know he didn't like it, but that did not bother me at that stage of the game. The 12 though, oof. Money 12. See, that's not crazy. Like, that's not crazy. Like, that's a very strange statement to me. Then back on the 10 again. I'm like, really? Like, now they don't steal from me, which is nice, but then they go on the 4. So it's like all our numbers being targeted here. So it was a mess. It was a bit of a mess here. This middle stage of the game was tough. It was tough. Tough to get through this. Let's see what happened there. Look at that 6. Look at that 6. Look at this, right? 2 wood, 3 brick, 2 wood. I mean, you just look at this and you're like, oh my god, still think it's a crazy block? Yeah, it's not. It's like insane. Like he could run a rough shot here if he wants. And it's becoming very dangerous, especially with how often the 6s and 9s are going off this game, which was a little ridiculous. Oh, scary. Very, very scary. Just weird. There it is again. It's like, oh, I guess that's the other reason, maybe in retrospect, I'm like, man, this 963 would have been great because it went off 8 million times. Yeah, at this point, I'm just taking another card. Because again, I'm like looking at this and I'm like, all right, I've got some serious concerns. 6 goes off again. Because I'm looking at this, if I don't buy a card here and maybe black can just buy like, yeah, see, I did not like that 6 block. Or that 4 block, yeah. It's funny, yeah, whoever it was moved it here. I'm trying to remember if that was that black? You know, maybe I was just speaking incorrectly, but yeah. But again, like I was mad about this. And look at this, just insane. Because yeah, I'm like, oh god, if I don't take the army, they can just buy it. I think with this crazy production, I mean, it's just insane. And heaven forbid, God, a 12 goes off. You know, oof, rough. Look at this, it's insane. Just so many sixes, absolutely dumbfounded. And of course, red does not take the road there, which honestly was a pretty big fail. Because red taking the road, right? We just have to pray. Stupid black here doesn't have a 6 roll, because heaven forbid they get it, right? Then they just, it is a VP to win the game. So yeah, big fail on red there. Thankfully, it's just a knight back on a 4, which is just like, ugh, terrible. So yeah, this game, very surprising. Funny, you look at this game and you're like, man, this game is not long for this world, right? Because this situation is terrible. This dude's got 2 different paths to take it. I almost would have preferred to take the road if possible. But again, that seemed pretty unlikely. Yeah. Here we go. Trying to be helpful. Red's already given up at this point. And again, I hate that. I really hate that. It's like, why give up? We're literally just trying to help him take the road. Even, you know, just getting him the road means he has to build 2 to take the road. So I just really hate that defeatist kind of attitude. It sucks, right? It really sucks. And then this getting scary here. Oh, hate it. The 2 rolls. It's like, oh, like we're willing to give it away. Like we're really just willing to try. And like, it's very frustrating. Yeah. It's like, it's, yep. Now I shouldn't have been as honest here. I think I should have just said 1 VP. Um, because maybe I gave away the game here, because again, I was a little bit off. But again, you can't always assume. So by I kind of tipped my hand to black there. But at the same time, you know, it's good because maybe they focus their resources on the card as opposed to doing something else with it. So it was fine. It was a little wonky. Honestly, it was black. I didn't, in my mind, I thought it was one of the other people asking me that question. Um, so yeah, I usually wouldn't be that honest, but in this case, I just want people to trade with me because I'm like, come on, I need something. And again, 9 cards. Give it to me, man. And he does a 4 for 1. It's like, okay. Like, there's a point. Well, Carolina unless there's 10 more 6s, which is like, well, there might be 10 more 6s. So it's like, ooh. And again, I think even black there, obviously this is just a little bit of gamesmanship. I mean, yeah, those 6s roll were toast. Not to mention, if he just gets like, you know, a couple of 6s and a 12 or an 11, done. All right, so we finally get this thing up of our 4. Thank God. We're hitting the 6 here just because, the 12 rolls, right? Ouch. Right, hitting the 6 there just so he can't port. the damn thing. Not to mention if the road could be a disaster if he takes that. But this is just not looking good at this point for us. Yeah, worst case scenario, right back on the 4. I'm like, he gets the wheat too, which is a complete nightmare. Worst case scenario, and he gets the wheat. So now all he needs is the road. That's it. All he needs is the road, which is pretty easily done, right? That 6 goes off twice. Just ridiculous. So yeah, at this point, things are looking pretty bleak for us. Not gonna lie, pretty bleak. But you know what? Never quit. You never know. Again, we're still fighting for 2 cards. Because I honestly think it's a little strange that red did do that on the previous turn, because honestly, the 3-for-1 port is so much more valuable. It's worth giving up another card to me, like the 17 cards. This was pretty scary. It was like he was not doing much, but then bam, bam. Like all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. And not to mention, yellow is a threat to take the road. Now, thankfully, yellow is not a threat to take the army at the moment, but you never know. So yeah, stuff was getting pretty crazy here. Spent all game saving up this 3. Yeah. Yeah, and I again having similar issues with the army here. But at this point, again, I can't really worry about yellow because 1-6 black probably wins it or gets close. Now, I think here, yeah, do I try to get one of those, or I don't remember. Let me see. So I made a mistake here. I think I should have tried to get one of those ore that yellow was offering me, and I did not. So that was a mistake on my part. Because if I just steal an ore and then don't do anything with it, that actually is pretty funny. It also kind of prevents yellow. So I would have done that in retrospect. Something I wish that I had done. Okay, they hit the 6 here. Which honestly is fine because even there, the 4 cards, right? It's a 4-for-1. I know I am big. He is. He's like supposed to winning this thing. Doesn't he? See, like I mean, it's like debatable. Debatable. Yes, he's got the 12 and the 2 and the 3. The problem is he's got like the premium resources, right? Yeah, at this point, Black's just trying to distractify. Because again, all Black really needs is, you know, a roll. Because look, he could if he gets like an 11 or a 3, right, and a 6 unblocked, 3 roads takes. He could potentially take it. And again, it's just very scary. Now, I will say this: at this point, you got to start looking at yellow. Ugh, God, scary. And again, I'm like, shoot, what do I do? And unfortunately, the answer is cardigan because I can't let black take it, right? So again, our hands were kind of tied here. Very much tied. Just not much we can do because again, if black pulls, maybe they get the knight and they win the game. So we're really kind of hamstrung. And that too. Oh my God. Look at that. All that sixes. Oh, the three. So this was an interesting one because it's like, oh, what do I decide to do here? I'm like, crap. So I go for the wheat. Let's see. And then what did I do? I don't remember. I passed. Now, now I probably made a mistake in passing. The thing is, I knew black couldn't win with that 1-6 that he had. But here's funny. What's really funny, and you're gonna see it here, like black should be able to win here. Then he goes, I can't win. We're all like, what? You've got 19 cards and you can't win? What are you talking about? Which is mind-blowing. So he buys a card. And I love that even the table is actively trying to convince him that he is wrong, which is just too funny. So the reality is he could have won there, right? He could have won there. Right. Exactly. Like we're all like baffled by this because he had all these cards. Watch, he'll figure it out here in a minute. We're like, what? Too funny. Yeah, no, he had it. He had the road. He ported 5 and 5. Exactly. Which is just, that was the problem. Right. He could have just taken the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, toast. 9, or whatever it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or whatever. Whatever. Well, he could have done it. Because I think he could have done it. Maybe I was wrong. 9. Let's read this bill one. Actually, yeah, no, I think he could have taken it. I don't know. Whatever. Pretty sure he could have won there. I'd have to go like recheck it. I don't really feel like rechecking it. Yeah, no kidding. I certainly agree because at this point, black is so close. Now it's a risky bet. I decided to go on the 9. Which is interesting. I figure the city is probably the bigger threat here. Because at this point, like the 6s, he's going to have to port them all anyway to get it. Now, what's very interesting, we have the VP and the city. So all of a sudden, we're at 9 points, right? We got a chance, but then this happens. I'm like, no. And I thought, oh man, I lost the game. But it turns out we actually didn't lose the game with that. So he had a year of plenty, and that's what did it. So we certainly blocked the correct thing. Now, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered because he could have just ported the 4 and the 2 and gotten the wheat and the ore anyway. But I'm like, the 6 and 9s were just so insane. I'm like, let me block the 9. So at least this way, you know. So I stand by it. I stand by it. He would have won anyway. Oh, look at this. 14. This killed us. The 4 8s. Like that 8 did not roll. And man, that was frustrating. Absolutely frustrating. So, not going to win them all. This game was frustrating though. Again, us not being able to get the city. And we got a lot of harassment this game through the early and mid game. And by the end of it, it was too late. So, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, folks. Not going to complain. It was an interesting game. It was pretty comical. But hey, thanks for watching. I got my audio fixed, so next videos won't be a problem. But hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.